Did you know the man behind the American space rocket program was also a practitioner of black magic and died trying to summon a being from another dimension? Jack Parsons was born in 1914, was an American scientist, engineer, and the pioneer of rocket propulsion research. He was part of the early development of the American space program, and is considered the father of modern rocketry. Parsons was also an occultist and a follower of Aleister Crowley's Thelema religious movement, which later led to him being investigated by the FBI as a potential security threat. He was also known for his pursuit of psychedelic drugs and his active sex life. In 1952, Parsons was involved in an explosion at his home in Pasadena, California. He later died from his injuries, and the incident was investigated by the police and FBI. While there was no evidence of foul play, some have speculated that the explosion was a result of a magical ritual gone wrong. Moreover, it was later found in Parsons' notes that he was trying to summon a clone of himself from another dimension in order to bring him ultimate power over the universe. Parsons' legacy lives on in the field of rocket science, while his involvement in the occult continues to be a source of controversy, and his death still remains a mystery to this day.
There was an event that took place back in the late 40s known as the Babylon working ritual. Now, this was a ritual that was carried out by Jack Parsons, JPL. People will even to this day say that JPL stands for Jack Parsons Laboratories, but on paper it's Jet Propulsion Laboratories. JPL is major. It's a historic, so much surrounding this, so much history here. Jack Parsons was not professionally trained, yet he was tapping into high technology and building rockets. How do you do that without any type of formal training? There were no rocket programs in America before Jack Parsons. This is paramount to understand. This guy was tapping into theosophy, Thelema, the religion of Aleister Crowley. He was a disciple of Aleister Crowley, and he was working with L. Ron Hubbard, who was the founder of Scientology. Interestingly, not only did L. Ron Hubbard start Scientology, but he was a science fiction writer. The movie Battlefield Earth with John Travolta, well, that was written by L. Ron Hubbard. Interestingly also, John Travolta is a Scientologist, right? Now, I mention this because this is a man who writes science fiction, yet he started a religion based on science fiction. There has to be something in there where he's getting these clues and these ideas. He's getting these from another realm.
Speaking of supernatural activity that took place after that ritual was performed.
Babylon working was successful according to Jack Parsons. Matter of fact, Parsons said in his Antichrist Manifesto that they were successful and that a child was conceived in that act, and that there was a spirit known as Hilarion. The government puts together this group that says we're going to get answers to what exactly took place out there in the desert in California by Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard. They go to Jack Parsons, and keep in mind, Jack Parsons is also working with the government. He's now been given, special privileges on things. So they go to him and they say, Jack, all of this stuff that's happening right now, did you do this? Did you do this? And he said, I think so. Now, shortly thereafter, Jack Parsons blows himself up in a lab. Accidental. It was not intentional. Belief was that whoever opened up the portal had to close the portal. Well, Jack Parsons is now dead. Wow. And the federal government is now having to understand and depict exactly to the public what's happening here. And so this group is researching, and out of that group, they finally start to make some headway. They know they're dealing with entities. And so in all of that, they begin to try to make contact with those entities, maybe for some help, maybe because they're trying to figure out how to close this thing, maybe they're trying to figure out how to undo what Jack Parsons did. So they go through satanic rituals to communicate, because that's the only method of communication that they know that works to contact these entities. In doing this, there's a small faction known as the Collins Elite. But once they began to engage in satanic rituals and magic and alchemy, this group says, hey, you know what? This is not what we signed up for. This small group raises up. It's a faction. It's a counterpoint group, which means that they are no longer in agreement with the big group. They have a different opinion. They say, we have a Christian worldview. This goes against our Christian worldview. And so they see that entities are being channeled and communicated with, and now technology is being given through these rituals to these other members of the government. So the Collins Elite says, whoa, this is dangerous. You guys are really playing with fire here. We can't support this. We can't do this. And they came up with this idea that the aliens were going to take over. And that in order to protect our country from the aliens, from the entities, they believed that we needed to instate a forced theocracy based on the law of Moses. Okay, this was what's known as a limited access program, or an LAP. A limited access program means that nobody in Congress has to know about this.
The Khan's elite were a counterpoint group within different governmental organizations that were party to satanic ritual being.
Good morning. Did you know that the American space program was literally founded by a practicing occultist who tried to summon a goddess into human form? His name was Jack Parsons, and he is one of the co-founders of NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab here in Los Angeles County. It's in Pasadena, actually. Jack Parsons was a disciple of Aleister Crowley. By day, he was a rocket scientist. By night, a ritual magician trying to bring the goddess of Babylon to Earth. In 1946, Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, yes, that L. Ron Hubbard, the future founder of Scientology, they performed a series of sex magic rituals in Pasadena called the Babylon Working. Their goal was to incarnate divine feminine force that would help usher in a new age. Shortly after the rituals began, a red-haired woman by the name of Marjorie Cameron appeared. Parsons believed that she was the goddess in the flesh. They tried to conceive a magical child, a moon child, that was meant to change the world. And despite what it sounds like, this is not conspiracy. It is all documented occult history. And the ritual didn't just affect them. It still echoes throughout the hills of Hollywood, in Scientology, and in our obsession with divine feminine power. Do you think that this energy can still be felt in Los Angeles? Follow me for part 2. Okay, so back to JPL, L. Ron Hubbard, Aleister Crowley, and Jack Parsons. Who is the goddess that they tried to summon? She rides the beast. She drinks from a chalice filled with blood of the saints. And she is divine. Babylon, spelled Babalon, isn't just a figure from the Revelation. In Thelema, she is the goddess of liberation, lust, and the apocalypse. And Jack Parsons believed that she was coming back to crack the world open, to break it open. To Aleister Crowley, Babylon was both sacred and sexual. She is the Scarlet Woman, a divine force of feminine power who accepts all and refuses none. She represents surrender, ego death, and the annihilation of false selves in the fires of love. Parsons believed that she was the next evolution of spiritual power, beyond patriarchal gods and beyond control. He saw her as an essential force in ushering in a new age of truth, love, and erotic liberation. Jack Parsons didn't just worship Babylon, he wanted to birth her into the world. Is she still rising? In feminism? In art? In pop culture? In us? Part 3 is how this all ties into Scientology. What if I told you that Scientology was born in a sex magic ritual? I think you'd believe me, right? Before Dianetics, before e-meters, L. Ron Hubbard was living with Jack Parsons in a Pasadena occult house. Like a frat house, but for occultists. L. Ron Hubbard was Jack Parsons' partner in occult rituals, specifically the one we've been talking about, the Babylon Working. This might sound like conspiracy, but it's not conspiracy, I promise. It's documented. And even Aleister Crowley knew and hated it. So L. Ron Hubbard helped Jack Parsons try to attempt, or TBD on successful or not, they tried to summon Babylon and conceive a moon child. And shortly after, L. Ron Hubbard ran off with Parsons' lover and money. And then within a few years, started Scientology. Hubbard studied Crowley. He quoted him in early lectures and even called him a very good friend. He didn't create anything new. He rebranded occult technology as mental science, and basically rituals got an eerie and weird corporate facelift. And now I live in the shadow of the blue Scientology building. I didn't know any of this until I moved to LA. So, all this to say, or ask, do you think that L. Ron Hubbard's religion, Scientology, began as an occult experiment gone wrong? Do you still not believe that magic shaped our world?
In the heavens where angels reside, their existence was to worship and obey. But among them arose a curiosity about the nature of man's transgressions on earth. A debate ensued amongst them, questioning why humans succumb to sin. Two angels, Harut and Marut, were chosen for a unique trial. Bestowed with human desires and vulnerabilities, they descended to Babylon to experience firsthand the trials of human existence. In Babylon, the angels were soon ensnared by its temptations. They indulged in passions, forgetting their divine nature. Their transgressions grew. They committed a grave mistake, teaching forbidden knowledge to mankind. This act went against their heavenly mandate. Recognizing their errors, they were offered a choice: punishment in this world or the next. They chose the former, accepting responsibility for their actions. Suspended between heaven and earth, Harut and Marut became a warning to all beings.
A city that rose thousands of years ago in the lands of Mesopotamia. Its power didn't come from golden towers, but from books full of secrets that gave them supernatural powers. Babylon. A city covered in towers that challenged the sky, filled with wealth and glory. But what made Babylon truly special were the forbidden secrets hidden behind its walls. Everything changed when two mysterious beings came down to Babylon and taught magic to the people. As they learned and used this magic, terrifying things began to happen. This forgotten city of Mesopotamia, once a legend rising between rivers, was tested with dark and dangerous spells. This video tells the story of Harut and Marut, who, according to the Quran, were sent to Earth and taught people magical knowledge. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss videos like this. If you're ready, let's begin. History did not record Babylon as just a city, but as a center where the greatest wisdom of humanity and the deepest darkness came together. In this place, the movements of the sky were studied, magical formulas were written down, and prophecies were read from the stars. But was Babylon really only the birthplace of astronomy and mathematics? Or was a secret knowledge whispered into someone's ear there? The Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 102, tells us about a mysterious event that happened in Babylon. It mentions two angels who taught magic to people, Harut and Marut. These two mysterious beings were going to give humans a cursed power. But why did they teach forbidden knowledge to people? Was it so that Babylon could also advance in science and reach such luxury and technology? Yes. While the sky over Babylon was full of stars, whispers began to spread among the people. Some wanted to bring doubt to the glorious kingdom of Prophet Sulaiman. The devils were making up lies, spreading dark words from ear to ear. At night, strange prayers echoed through the dark streets of Babylon. The stars seemed to listen to the whispers of ancient priests, while incense offered to dark forces rose up to the sky. But this was not ordinary worship. This was the oldest form of magic. Babylon was famous not only for its towers, but also for its supernatural knowledge. Throughout history, many civilizations were interested in magic and mysterious sciences. But Babylon is known as one of the first great civilizations to turn this knowledge into an organized system. There was a special group of people made up of priests, astronomers, magicians, and fortune tellers. They studied not just the movements of the stars, but also the power of words and symbols. The temples of Babylon were used not only for worship, but also for magical and spiritual rituals. The angels mentioned in verse 102 of Surah Al-Baqarah were sent to Babylon with a special mission. But this mission was not an ordinary one. Harut and Marut were sent down from the sky by divine command. They came like a warning before a storm. Their task was not to build a kingdom or to rule a nation. They said, "We are a test, a trial. Do not deny." What they held in their hands was not a treasure or a weapon. They gave people knowledge, but this knowledge was like a dark shadow. The Quran calls it shir, magic, a power that breaks homes and separates hearts. Harut and Marut didn't teach the secrets of magic as a lesson. They warned people that they were only a test. They told everyone the same warning: we are only a trial. Do not deny. But the people of Babylon didn't refuse the knowledge. They wanted to take control of supernatural powers, to change their fate, and to see what is hidden. But why were these two angels so powerful? Why did they offer a key that opened the door to forbidden knowledge? According to narrations, Harut and Marut didn't only know magic, they also knew secret names, how to communicate with spirits, and the mysteries of the stars. Some say they were beings who carried divine knowledge. They had the power to understand the secrets of the sky, the workings of the universe, and how to shape both matter and soul. But this knowledge was too heavy for humans to carry. And this is where the fate of Babylon changed. As this knowledge spread through the streets of Babylon, whispers turned into screams. This secret, one that broke up marriages and stole peace, divided people. Some were drawn to it while others stayed away. Harut and Marut just watched silently. It was as if they had opened the curtain of a theater and left the stage to humans. Are words just simple letters, or are they the basic codes of the universe? According to the belief of Babylonian magicians, a person who said the right words could change reality itself. But this power came with a price. Knowledge is power, but not all knowledge is holy. Some knowledge, when given to humans, leads to destruction. The secrets taught by Harut and Marut in Babylon were not just words or symbols. They were forbidden formulas that could change a person's fate. Babylon was famous not just for its great buildings, but also for its secret sciences. The priests of Babylon believed that words were not just tools for communication. They were forces that shaped reality. They believed that a word spoken in the right way could change destiny, heal diseases, or curse an enemy. Most importantly, words could form a bridge between humans and unknown beings, hidden dark worlds, dimensions, poisonous and cursed beings, and shaitanic creatures. They appear friendly to humans, but they are not. They do have power, but to get it, you must give up your morals and your faith. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia rose like staircases to the sky. Between these stones, people listened to the voices from above. The magic of Babylon was not only used for personal gain, but also to decide the fate of kings and empires. Special spells were recited for a king to win a war. Certain prayers were whispered to curse cities. Magic words were used to contact mysterious beings, but these spells were dangerous for humans. The markets of Babylon were full of life. The sun shone like fire in the sky. Then Harut and Marut came. They were silent, but their eyes seemed to promise something. A potter in the square asked, "What are they selling?" But on their table there was no clay and no pots. There was only one thing, a secret. What they brought, the secret they called magic, was spread over Babylon like a blanket. It didn't burn like fire, and it didn't cool like water, but it changed everyone. What was this? The Quran says that Harut and Marut taught magic to people, but that people misused this knowledge. They would never teach magic to anyone without first saying, "We are only a test. Do not deny." Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 102. But people didn't listen to this warning. Magic was used, sometimes in battles for the throne, and sometimes for personal ambition. In the Hadiths, magic is also described as a serious sin. It was renewed by hand, it says. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that getting involved in magic darkens a person's soul and can lead to great destruction. Some of the biggest disasters in history have been linked to magic. The fall of Babylon is often connected with the spreading of magic. In ancient Egypt, it is said that the pharaohs used magic to gain power. During the Middle Ages, many people accused of witchcraft were taken to the Inquisition courts for having access to forbidden knowledge. Even in Kabbalah, there are dark and mysterious spells. Some believe these spells are connected to those brought in the time of Harut and Marut. These spells are said to be very dangerous, maybe even used today, which is why people stay silent in the face of injustice and become cruel for their own gain. History shows us one thing clearly. What matters is not the knowledge itself, but how it is used. Were these two strangers the final messengers of an ancient legacy? Think of the tablets held by the magicians of Babylon. Today, we hold tablet computers in our hands. Among the teachings of Harut and Marut were the powers of the mind and the will. And today, psychologists study the power of the subconscious mind. Hypnosis, suggestion, and neuroscience work in ways that are similar to ancient magic techniques. In ancient times, magicians used rituals and prayers to influence people. Today, people's thoughts can be guided through subliminal messages, hypnosis, and neuro-linguistic programming techniques. Maybe modern magic is hidden in the messages we receive from television screens, social media, and advertisements. Even today, some societies still use magic and ancient rituals. Hollywood movies often include themes of magic. Occult groups take inspiration from ancient knowledge. Has what we call magic really disappeared? Or has it just taken on a new form in the modern world? To see its traces today, we don't need a magician's wand or old rituals, because now magic is hidden in screens, ads, movies, and even inside algorithms. Throughout history, magical knowledge was always in the hands of a small group of people. These people protected their knowledge through secret societies and esoteric schools. Freemasonry, the Rosicrucians, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It is said that these groups brought ancient Babylonian teachings into the modern world. The symbols we often see in Hollywood films, for example, movies about secret groups controlling the world. Are they just fiction? Or are they a way to make people used to magic and esoteric ideas? Calling everything a conspiracy can make us ignore what's really happening. Magicians don't appear as cloaked figures or witches anymore. Could they now be the ones who control the digital world, those who control the financial markets, or the ones who have the easiest access to information? Ancient magicians influenced people using words. Today, ads, songs, and movies have the same effect. The lyrics of a song can enter our mind without us even noticing. An image in the background of a commercial can change the way we think. In Disney and Hollywood films, there are hidden images that flash for only seconds, too fast to notice. Subliminal advertising techniques can make people want to buy something without realizing why. Subconscious messages can create feelings of fear, anxiety, or comfort. But are these just marketing tricks? Or are they the new face of magic in the modern world? The magicians of Babylon tried to understand the human soul and fate, and today, artificial intelligence and big data may be doing the same thing. Algorithms can read people's thoughts. In the teachings of Harut and Marut, there were spells that could influence and guide people. Today, artificial intelligence can predict people's behavior and even guide it. What does our social media feed show us? Do we really choose it, or is something else guiding us? Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, even the amount of time we look at a post is being measured. Are the suggested contents really chosen for us, or is someone deciding what we should think? In the past, magicians influenced people with words and symbols. Today, data science tries to understand and guide the human mind. Magic is no longer about magical words or old rituals. Could it now be working through messages planted in our subconscious, through algorithms and data analysis? Have the forbidden secrets of Babylon taken a new form in the modern world? And the real question is, are we consuming this knowledge without even realizing it? Are we aware that our society is changing, as if under a spell? Sometimes it takes centuries for a society to change, but in just the last few years, our values seem to have disappeared like they were erased by magic. People have forgotten what they once called sacred. Families are breaking apart, friendships are being forgotten, kindness and loyalty are fading, and the strangest thing, no one knows why it's happening. In the past, children were taught morals. Today they're told, to succeed you must win, no matter the cost. In the past, people would feel ashamed when they did something wrong. Now, the one who exposes the mistake is blamed instead. Before, when someone asked for help, people would rush to them. Now, everyone just watches. They open their phone cameras, but they don't reach out a hand. What changed? How did this transformation happen so fast? Is it just technology that changed us? Or did someone turn us into something else? Are we living inside a spell without even knowing? Do the things we watch contain more than what we think? TV shows that normalize fighting and hatred, movies that treat moral values as unimportant, stories that say, to be strong, you must be cruel. Once, heroes were examples of honesty and goodness. Today, heroes are cruel, vengeful, and dark. Is it possible that the world we're being shown is a designed illusion meant to change us? Just like the old magicians, is someone making us forget our values and turning us into different people? A person's sense of right and wrong is shaped from childhood, but if what they see every day changes, their values will also change. Once, we were taught, don't do to others what you don't want done to you. Now, people are told, take advantage whenever you can. Once, respect your elders was a rule. Now, living without rules is seen as freedom. Is it the algorithms that changed us, the media, or did we give up our values with our own hands? One generation is enough to change a society, but one generation is also enough to guide it in the right direction. Today, if we turn our hearts and faces toward Islam, if we return fully to our Creator, we can recover our lost human values. We can once again become the soul that was created to be Allah's representative on earth, the being He valued most. Friendship, loyalty, justice, love, we can only understand and live these through divine love. Whoever loses that love, what have they truly gained? And whoever finds it, what could they possibly lose? If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.
Okay, wait, shut the fuck up. Babylon, the Babylonians are literally the reason why we have this 3-tier hierarchy, like slaved people and fucking rich people controlling everything. Babylon, 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 Babylon. Babylon was created when people lost the ability to communicate telepathically, so we had to use our words. Therefore, we've been playing the game of telephone since creation started, and we are simply growing within ourselves to clean ourselves from this babbling on that's been happening of our inability to just know in our hearts and our minds that we're connected. Our stories have just separated from one another, and we are simply just finding and closing the loops on all of these different versions of the story that have been told maybe incorrectly, not because they were wrong, but because they were seen from a different perspective. And that perspective matters, because every perspective matters. Every life matters. I'm having a really great day so far. Story of Babylon. This could totally be basic knowledge and I'm just now discovering this, but maybe not. So, Story of Babylon. I always thought in my mind, building this tower to try and get up to God, and the reason why God confused their language and destroyed that plan was because of their pride, or I didn't really know, to be honest. Because they couldn't make it up to God. We know that now with science, how that works. They would die. But I was at a museum, and I really should have looked into this beforehand. So if this is already basic knowledge, apologies. Anyway, discovered this, which I already knew God commanded this. I just never put 2 and 2 together. Literally, Genesis 1:28, very beginning of the Bible. God says, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the whole earth." The entire reason why God destroyed that plan was because the reason they were trying to create this huge tower up to God was because they didn't want any of the people to scatter. They wanted to make it so no one had to fill the whole earth and live in all different places, but instead live in one collective area. So the reason that God did this is because they were disobeying what God said about filling the whole earth. Their intention was to stay in one place. And there's probably more things that God did regarding that, but that's the one that I know why my brain did not put that together, but found out that and wanted to share. So, yay!
Yeah. Belerian Armilus al-Dajjal. This is the guy who came into Jack Parsons' dream, and he gave him, the idea for the fuel for the satellites so that they can enable themselves to penetrate the stratosphere. So basically, without this guy, without this Belerium Armilus al-Dajjal, the modern satellites wouldn't exist.
Fun fact, he is the pioneer of rocket fuel. Not only that, but he referred to himself as the Dajjal. He was a massive occultist. Due to his occultist beliefs, he assumed that he was going to be the Dajjal, the Antichrist, to fulfill the Aleister Crowley being 666. You also want to know how this guy passed away? I'm not even kidding, prepare yourself. He blew up. Yes, his house spontaneously exploded. I'm not even kidding. Next time that you see space travel and a certain man that's trying to push for going to Mars, next time just think, why is there links to him and someone that claims they're the Dajjal? Very, very peculiar.
Let me introduce you to the of Babylon. In Christianity, the Babylon refers to a symbolic female figure and a place of evil mentioned in the book of Revelations. It was used to refer to the Babylonian Empire, who destroyed the first temple in Jerusalem and led to the exile of the Jews from Judea. But it is also used to refer to the Roman Empire, who destroyed the second temple. According to Revelations, the Babylon will be clothed in rich clothes, riding the beast, and be marked on her forehead. Interestingly, her full name is Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of and abominations of the earth.
So Jack Parsons was one of the early founders of our rocket technology program, but he's not talked about. And the reason he's not talked about is because he believed he was getting the inspiration for his rocket technologies through doing rituals. And he worked with Aleister Crowley and the guy who found Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard. And so Parsons is believing that he is contacting non-human intelligences that are, for his interpretation of them is that they're like deities, right? They're deities. And he even manifested one, right? And then married her. And but he believed that they were allowing him to create the rocket technology. Now that's his belief. And he was doing rituals to that effect. On the Russian side, you have the Konstantin Tchaikovsky, okay, so earlier than Jack Parsons, but also creating rocket technology, also believed in non-human intelligence. So he believed that these intelligences were angelic, and that he was, if you're in contact with that realm, that if you're specifically genius enough, that you'd be able to interpret their information and create what he created, which he was like Jack Parsons, but for the Russian side. So each of those kind of what we call them fathers of our space program were involved in something that was pretty similar, but one thought it was angelic and the other just thought it was, he was working with Aleister Crowley.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And what I found was that our space program today even has some really interesting rituals associated with it when it does certain launches at Cape Canaveral. Maybe not all of them, but the one that Tyler was involved with, they had images of Roman gods and goddesses put on the rockets. They would use Latin on their patches, their mission patches, and they would also have specific rituals that they would do, sometimes involving U.S. presidents. They would position the presidents at a certain point where astronomical events, would happen. The president of the United States, they didn't know what they were doing. They were just being positioned there. So, they're like, stand here, Mr. Obama or President Obama, and he would stand there with his wife and look this direction. It was part of the whole thing.
This is the story of the founder of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and the founder of Scientology and a secret ritual that was performed in the desert one fateful night in 1946, where a portal was opened and spiritual entities, i.e. UFOs, came through, heralding the beginning of a new era of humanity. No, this is not science fiction. This is the true story of the infamous Babylon working ritual. In this End Times Productions special report, we are going to show you just how dark our world really is. In the vast spectrum of 20th century occult practices, few have garnered as much attention and controversy as the Babylon working ritual. Orchestrated by the enigmatic figures of Jack Parsons, a brilliant rocket scientist and co-founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, and L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, this series of rituals sought to manifest the Thelemic goddess Babylon and usher in a new era of human consciousness. But what was the true nature of the Babylon working? And what does it tell us about the convergence of science, religion, and esoteric pursuits in the modern age? To fully grasp the significance of the Babylon working, one must first understand the Thelemic backdrop against which it was set. Aleister Crowley, a British occultist and mystic, founded the religious movement of Thelema in the early 20th century. Central to Thelemic cosmology is the figure of Babylon, a goddess figure embodying the liberating and transformative forces of the feminine divine. In Crowley's vision, Babylon would play a pivotal role in the forthcoming Aeon of Horus, a new era of human evolution and spiritual emancipation. Jack Parsons, an ardent follower of Crowley's teachings, believed himself to be a key agent in this coming transformation. While many knew Parsons for his groundbreaking work in rocketry, fewer were aware of his deep engagement with the occult. In early 1946, Parsons was joined by L. Ron Hubbard, an aspiring writer who would later achieve fame or infamy as the founder of Scientology. The two embarked on the Babylon Working, a series of rituals designed to incarnate the spirit of Babylon into human form, ultimately aiming to birth the so-called Moonchild, a magical child heralding a new dawn for humanity.
You've looked into the satanic side of the occult, correct?
They practice satanic worship.
She said he was conceived out of a nightmare during some satanic cult ritual.
Drawing from a combination of Thelemic rites, Enochian magic, and their own innovations, Parsons and Hubbard conducted the ritual over several weeks. They believed their efforts bore fruit when Parsons met and became involved with an artist named Marjorie Cameron, whom he considered the earthly embodiment of Babylon.
There was an event that took place back in the late 40s known as the Babylon Working Ritual. Now, this was a ritual that was carried out by Jack Parsons, JPL. You know, people will even to this day say that JPL stands for Jack Parsons Laboratories, but on paper it's Jet Propulsion Laboratories. JPL is major. It's a historic, so much surrounding this, so much history here. Jack Parsons was not professionally trained, yet he was tapping into high technology and building rockets. How do you do that without any type of formal training? There were no rocket programs in America before Jack Parsons. This is paramount to understand. This guy was tapping into theosophy, Thelema, the religion of Aleister Crowley. He was a disciple of Aleister Crowley, and he was working with L. Ron Hubbard, who was the founder of Scientology. Interestingly, not only did L. Ron Hubbard start Scientology, but he was a science fiction writer. The movie Battlefield Earth with John Travolta, well, that was written by L. Ron Hubbard. Interestingly also, John Travolta is a Scientologist, right? Now, I mention this because this is a man who writes science fiction, yet he started a religion based on science fiction. There has to be something in there where he's getting these clues and these ideas. He's getting these from another realm.
From that point, they ripped a hole open into space-time. And from that point afterwards, you had, regardless of what Parsons actually successfully completed during that with the Whore of Babylon and different things, after that, you had the Roswell incident, you had the Kenneth Arnold sightings, you had in '53, there was the swarm of UFOs that flew over the White House. And so there's this unleashing of supernatural activity that took place after that ritual was performed.
Babylon Working was successful, according to Jack Parsons. Matter of fact, Parsons said in his Antichrist manifesto that they were successful, and that a child was conceived in that act, and that there was a spirit known as Hilarion. The Whore of Babylon was what they were trying to bring about. They believed what we believe, and that America was the final Babylon. Like, this was the revived Babylon. They believed it, and they were occultists. We're Christians, and we believe it. There's evidence to back this up. But yes, let's backtrack just for a second. What happened was they opened up this portal, they created a rift, and entities began to come through. Not just this Whore of Babylon being birthed, but other entities, because people all over the place started having paranormal encounters, and they began to report this to law enforcement, report this to the FBI, report this to whatever agency they could get in touch with. And so the federal agencies said, we've got to come up with an answer for this. We were not prepared for any of this. There's UFO activity, there's talk of entities and demons and winged creatures and just all kinds of weird, just paranormal demonic activity following this ritual that Jack Parsons said finally worked. They did the ritual for a couple years. It finally worked, finally stuck. And that's what a scientist does. A scientist is going to work at something. He's going to work at that hypothesis until it's proven true or false.
Despite their apparent success, the partnership between Parsons and Hubbard soon soured, with Hubbard absconding with a boat and funds they had invested together. Parsons would face further professional and personal setbacks before his untimely death in a laboratory explosion in 1952. The ritual also underscores the blurred boundaries between science, religion, and magic in the mid-20th century. Both Parsons and Hubbard, each influential in their respective fields, were deeply enmeshed in occult practices, reflecting a broader societal fascination with the unknown.
It's delinquency. It's satanic.
Some kind of ritual, satanic in nature, I don't know.
Satanic ritual?
Oh, all the time.
Just as Parsons and Hubbard sought to channel otherworldly energies through their ritual, society at large became captivated by the notion of otherworldly visitors. Aleister Crowley, the foundational figure of Thelema and a significant influence on Parsons, once sketched a being he contacted during an earlier ritual named Lamb. The visage of Lamb bears an uncanny resemblance to modern depictions of grey aliens, with its oversized cranium and piercing almond-shaped eyes. Could magical rituals, like those of Crowley and later Parsons, serve as a bridge between dimensions or realities, possibly connecting to extraterrestrial realms?
Government testing, paranormal activity, interdimensional communications, you name it.
Perhaps Tabitha's summoning them to kill us all.
An alien invasion?
As we stand at the crossroads of science and spirit, perhaps we'll find that magic and mystery are, in fact, the very fabric of the cosmos. This is especially true for biblical theology. The book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, sums it up nicely. Quote, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." This is exactly what L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons were invoking that fateful night in the desert. I want to thank you for watching this video, and until next time, God bless you all.
This is Jack Parsons. He's the reason we won World War II, and my great-grandma and great-uncles were there at the time of his death. There's a lot of debate on it, but if you read the book Strange Angel, you can really learn that Jack really did invent solid rocket fuel through his own laborious efforts of driving from Pasadena to Riverside, California to March Air Force Base to test formulas, and he spent his own money on it until it was accomplished in August 1941. Now, a lot happens between 1941 and when my uncles meet his wife, Marjorie Cameron, in 1951. I'll speed the story up and explain why I'm making this video. I woke up about 8 months ago with the most bizarre epiphany I've ever had. The only way I could describe it would be like otherworldly. And what I heard was over and over again, I was finally understanding what my Uncle Greg meant back in 2006. I would like drive him to doctor's appointments because he was in his 80s, and my Uncle Martin had passed away in 2003, so I knew my Uncle Greg was really depressed and sad. And he lived at the top of the Hollywood Hills, I moved to LA, so I would go visit him and take him to the doctor or take him to Trader Joe's or something like that, you know? I had heard my uncle tell this story quite a few times because my brothers would make him, but sometime around like 2007, I remember my uncle telling me the story in a different way. This time he kept saying, and he was sobbing, he was saying, they said he would have himself, but he would have never done that. Jack would have never done that. Jack would have never done that. And I was 24, so I think I just thought he was an emotional old man. But I think through my own suffering, finally in recent years, it hit me that he believed there was another reason Jack died that day on June 17th, 1952. Jack and Marjorie already had their bags packed that day to flee to Mexico. And, you know, when I first started all this research, I thought that my theory that someone decided to end Jack was a little bit controversial and made up. But after I did all my research, I decided it's absolutely accurate, because as an English teacher, you want to know what to look for. It's what people don't say. And if you read Strange Angel, written in 2006, my Uncle Greg is referenced in the book multiple times, you will hear the real story of how Caltech, JPL, NASA, rocket propulsion, space travel, all of that came about. And it is not what is on their websites. Frank Molina is credited with everything. And I have another weird theory. My uncles went on to have careers that didn't make any sense prior to the explosion. They went on to have wealth that didn't make any sense prior to the explosion. My family member, Martin, comes from a town of 1,000 people where my mom's high school's been demolished by now. How? How did my uncles end up at the top of the Hollywood Hills? And how did this man get erased from history? I have all the answers, basically, unfortunately. If you're ready to hear them, I'm